Gentlemen.
I know, but I'm not talking to him, I'm asking you.
Okay, matters of public interest, people are interested in the upkeep of the building, where their taxpayer money is being spent, stuff like that. So have you got to be reasonable suspicion that I'm a terrorist?
Section 43.
Right, what suspicion have you got that I'm a terrorist? Alright then, go on then, get on with it. Alright, what suspicion have you got that I'm a terrorist?
The fact that you're recording outside the police station.
Oh, I hear that. No, you can.
Yeah.
So what were you expecting to find on me?
I don't know what I was expecting to find on you.
So what were the grounds for the search? Filming isn't enough grounds for the search,
As I said to you,
Section 43 again. Do you know why it was introduced? Do you know why it was introduced?
A power to search
Why was
someone
Section
who they
43
reasonably
introduced?
suspect to be a terrorist. Reasonably
What
suspect
do you
is a 2 out of 10 on the register.
2 out of 10.
Welcome back to Operation Audit, where we question misconduct, challenge abuse of power, and keep public officials accountable. Today's footage comes from Coley Burks, so make sure you check the link below and support the original channel. In this encounter, the auditor walks up to Southwark Police Station with a camera, simply filming from a public area. But instead of handling it calmly, officers quickly escalate the situation into a terrorism-related detention. They surround him, avoid giving proper identification, and try to justify their actions by pointing to the national threat level, as if that alone gives them grounds to stop someone. The pressure rises fast, and it looks like they are ready to push their authority as far as possible. But when another officer arrives, his approach is completely different, and it makes the first group's behavior look even more questionable. This is exactly why audits matter, because when lawful filming is treated like suspicious activity, the public deserves to see how that power is being used. Stay with this one until the end, because the turnaround is hard to ignore.
Just matters of public interest.
Well, if it's a public interest, you should let the police know.
Should I?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because the police protect the public.
Okay, well the public interest is how people's tax money is being spent, upkeep of the building, interactions with police constables. Who are you?
Who are you first?
I don't have to identify myself, but you're the one asking questions.
Well, no, you're filming me as I'm going into my place of work. You can imagine if I was filming you when you were going into work, you'd want to know why I was doing
Well,
it.
if you were doing it from public, I couldn't really have an objection.
No, you would. It'd be an invasion of your privacy.
No, because I can film anything I can see from public. If you're in public, you haven't got any privacy.
The officer then falls back on the usual weak comparison, suggesting it would be the same as someone turning up to film the auditor at his own workplace. But the auditor shuts that down straight away by making the point that really matters. If the filming was being done from a public place, there would be no real grounds to object. And that is the distinction these officers seem to ignore over and over again. A police station is not the same as a private company, and police officers are not ordinary staff members working behind closed doors. They are public servants, paid by the public, operating from public buildings, and carrying powers that can seriously affect people's lives. So trying to compare them with private workers simply does not hold up because the level of authority, responsibility, and public accountability is completely different.
No, because I can film anything I can see from public. If you're in public, you haven't got any privacy.
Right, okay. So, you're filming people at the police station for the public's benefit?
Yes.
And what are you going to do with these videos?
I don't know, just use it for my own recreation.
Okay, fantastic. Alright, well you carry on as you are.
Good. So, who are you?
I don't need to identify myself.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Just a jogger. Excuse me?
What are you doing?
I'm just filming.
Why?
Matters of public interest.
Huh?
Matters of public interest.
Alright.
Just people are interested in, the upkeep of the building, how their taxes being spent. So who are you? Are you?
Do you understand that filming
Police
outside of a
constable.
police station looks a little bit suspicious?
What are you suspicious of?
Well, why are you filming
Would you
outside the police
identify
station?
yourself? You're just the guy that in
I don't need to
in random dress. Well, I don't even know who you are, mate. Could you identify yourself, please? Fair enough, if you're a member of the public and you're curious, then I'll tell you, but if you've got a bit of authority or something, then I think you should identify yourself.
Alright mate, there's a guy filming outside the station. No, some bloke walking down.
You just come from the gym or something?
No.
Sorry, who are you?
Right, I'll tell you who I am. My name's PC Allen, I work here at
Oh, okay, thank you, Mr. Allen. I'm not here for an argument or to antagonise
Yeah, but
anyone.
I don't really understand why you're filming outside the station.
I've explained matters of public interest. People are interested in how their tax money is being spent.
Eventually, the auditor finally gets a proper identification, PC Allen, but the important part is what happened before that. He had to keep asking just to find out who was dealing with him, and that should not be difficult during a police interaction. When an officer is questioning someone, challenging them, or using any kind of police power, giving clear identification is part of basic accountability, not some optional favor. The public has a right to know who they are speaking to, especially when that person is acting with official authority. The fact that it takes several requests just to get a name and collar number says a lot about how uncomfortable some officers seem to be with simple transparency.
Keep of the building,
Right.
interactions with police
From my
officers.
perspective, right?
Yeah.
Terrorist risk at the moment is substantial.
Okay.
It's quite strange that as a member of the public, you're stood outside the police station filming. Yeah.
So what are you implying? Do you
So
think
what
I'm a terrorist?
exactly are you filming?
I've explained it, sir.
Right.
So the terrorist risk is substantial, is it? When was the last time a police station was attacked by a terrorist?
Luckily, not recently.
Well, do you actually know when was the last time?
No.
Okay.
Here we see terrorism being brought into the conversation without any clear factual basis. The auditor asks a simple question: when was a UK police station last attacked by terrorists? And the officer's response makes the issue even clearer because he cannot actually give an answer. That matters because if you are going to use terrorism as a reason to treat lawful filming as suspicious, there needs to be something more than vague fear and general assumptions behind it. Instead, this comes across like fear being used as a shortcut to justify control. Turning ordinary public recording into a terrorism concern without specific grounds is not proper policing. It is weak, misleading, and it lowers the standard that officers are supposed to meet.
It's a bit of a strong word to be using.
Alright, guys.
You right, mate?
Hello, good morning.
Morning,
I'm well,
how
yourself?
are you?
Can we not surround me, please?
Okay, what's going on?
I'm just filming.
For why?
Matters of public interest.
Go on, what are the public interests?
I've already explained it to...
Okay, well you can explain it to me.
What if you'd like to explain, sir?
Do you want to explain to me?
I've already explained it to this gentleman.
I know, but I'm not talking to him, I'm asking you.
Okay, matters of public interest, people interested in the upkeep of the building, where their taxpayer money is being spent, stuff like that. Is that all good? I don't need to give my name.
That's true.
Would you mind giving your name?
I can if there's a policing purpose for it. But
Well, yeah, do you not have to identify yourself, sir?
Yes, I was a police officer.
Well, I don't know if you're a police officer, to be
Didn't say
fair.
that at all.
Well, if you're asking me questions, you might have some...
It's just weird that you're recording outside a police station at this time of day with nobody.
I've explained, man. Would you mind identifying yourself? Section 43, yeah? So have you got to be reasonable suspicion that I'm a terrorist?
Section 43.
Right, what suspicion have you got that I'm a terrorist? Alright then, go on then, get on with
You're
it.
going to be searched on section 43.
Alright, what suspicion have you got that I'm a terrorist?
The fact that you're recording outside a police station.
Oh, I hear that,
I'm
I
gonna
hear that, I
search
hear that. No, you can.
Yeah.
Now they move to Section 43 of the Terrorism Act 2000, which is supposed to apply only when an officer has reasonable suspicion that a person may be involved in terrorism. But listen to the grounds they rely on here because it is incredibly weak. The auditor is filming a police station from a public place, and that appears to be the entire basis for their suspicion. So in practical terms, they are treating lawful photography as if it automatically creates a terrorism concern. That is a serious problem, because public filming on its own should not be used as a shortcut for suspicion. Guidance has made it clear that officers should not stop people simply for taking photos or recording in public, yet here they seem to ignore that basic principle completely.
It's just a bit weird that you're searching that. You're standing outside
What
a police
suspicion?
Pass this, take this off as well.
Can I just leave it there?
Yeah, put it on the floor.
Yeah?
Take this off as well.
Section 43, what reasonable grounds have you got that I'm a terrorist?
Alright, you're doing
That's
something.
suspicious behaviour.
What are you
Filming
expecting to
outside
find?
the police
What are you
station.
expecting to find?
We're not sure yet.
Police
I'm gonna
station is
search
obviously a high risk
What you're
of
expecting to
terrorist
find?
threat, and that is why we decided to search you today. Alright?
High risk of terrorist threat? What does that mean?
I
What have I done
just
that's
don't
suspicious?
good behaviour.
As I've
Recording
said, you're
outside a
filming
police
outside of a
station.
I've
police
explained
station.
why I'm recording, sir.
You've not given a good reason for
I'm
why
not
you're
giving
doing
you a reason.
so.
I said matter of public
No, man.
interest, the upkeep of the building, how people...
No, you could do a freedom of information request if you really felt that way.
Freedom of information request what? What am I requesting? None of you got body worn camera on.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, thank you. So what were you expecting to find on yourself? Do you mind if I grab the phone, yeah?
Yeah, I like to.
Alright, so what were you expecting to find on me? What are the grounds for the search?
Right,
Do you
mate,
mind answering the
How
question?
many times have you been filming outside of the police station?
I'm not going to answer that question. So what were you expecting to find on me?
I don't know what I was expecting to find on
So
you.
what were the
That's why I
grounds for the
searched
search?
you.
Filming isn't enough grounds for
As
the
I
search,
said
is
to
it?
you,
Section 43 again. Do you know why it was introduced? Do you know why it was introduced?
Officer a power to search
Why was
someone who
Section
they
43
reasonably
introduced?
suspect to be a terrorist. Reasonably
What
suspect
do you
is a 2 out of 10
Okay.
on the register.
2 out of 10.
The auditor then points them back to Section 44, the older version of this type of power, which was scrapped after concerns that it was being used to stop photographers without proper suspicion. Section 43 was supposed to be different because it requires an officer to have genuine reasonable suspicion linked to terrorism before using it. But the way these officers apply it here looks dangerously close to the same old problem. Instead of pointing to clear behavior that suggests a real terrorism concern, they seem to rely on the simple fact that he is filming a police station from public. So while the law may have changed, the mindset appears exactly the same. Treat the camera as suspicious first and worry about proper grounds later.
So what do you reasonably suspect of me being a
Because
terrorist?
you're filming outside
this
of a
how-
police
is this how you detain a terrorist?
Police stations are obviously
Why have you not put me
a
in cuffs
high
then? Why have you
value
not put me in cuffs? I would
target
hope
for
that-
terrorists. So from our perspective,
buddy.
we're wondering why you're stood out here filming, doing something which we would
I've
consider
explained, sir.
hostile reconnaissance.
It's not hostile
alright?
reconnaissance. Someone doing hostile
It
reconnaissance
could
would
be,
do it covertly.
and that's why we suspect and why we need to search you.
Hostile reconnaissance would be done covertly.
It doesn't have to be.
Take that back.
It doesn't have to be, but... So why was Section 43 introduced in the first place?
See, that's the thing. A lot of people got nothing to do. I'll do my breakfast.
So what have you got to do? Unlawful searches? Is that what you do, yeah?
Have you got nothing to do with your life?
I've got nothing to do with my life. No, COVID's got us doing stuff like this. What do you do with your life? Just unlawfully search and detain people? You know I can sue you.
Okay.
You know I can sue you.
Okay then.
You haven't said what you're expecting to find. You didn't have reasonable suspicion. APCO 2010 says filming isn't reasonable suspicion. On the Met Police website, it says that filming isn't. Why was Section 43 repelled? Human European Court of Human Rights, yeah, repelled Section 44 of the Terrorist Act in 2010. For what reason? And now you're just using Section 43. So this is what we do now, yeah? We done now, yeah? Alright, I'm gonna keep filming. I'm gonna keep filming.
Get moved on by other officers.
Alright, cool.
You know
I'm gonna
that?
keep filming. What?
You've got nothing to do with your life.
I've got nothing to do, yeah.
Alright, you're gonna
What have you got to do? Unlawful detentions and that.
Yeah, just leave him. We'll crim it in and put it on. Have you circulated the fact that he's being weird?
Yeah, we already know you.
Right, sweet.
Alright, you're dismissed, yeah?
Dismissed.
Yeah, you're dismissed, yeah.
After the search comes back with nothing, which was hardly surprising, the power dynamic shifts completely. Instead of the officers controlling the moment, the auditor is the one who tells them the interaction is over. And to be honest, after being detained on weak grounds, that response feels entirely fair. When police use their powers without a proper basis, a member of the public does not have to act grateful or pretend the stop was justified. He simply matches the firmness they showed him, but this time, he is doing it from a much stronger position.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Okay, and why is that?
Matters of public interest.
And what is that?
The upkeep of the building, how tax money's being spent,
Right,
interactions with police constables.
okay.
I like your scooter.
Thank you. But what's the purpose of the
In the politest way possible, I've literally just explained it.
No, I know you have, but
Thank you.
I don't understand what it is that you're.
So I'll repeat it if you want.
No, you can, yeah.
So matters of public interest
But it's kind of
pertaining
vague.
to the upkeep of the building,
But it's a bit-
interactions with police constables,
Okay.
and how people's tax money is being spent.
Okay. And what's the purpose? What is that?
The
on behalf
purpose
of?
is to promote that photography isn't a crime.
No, it's not. No,
So that's technically that's the purpose.
But of course, we have a
technically
duty as
speaking.
officers to
Absolutely.
if we see people filming outside.
Definitely,
the police
and your
station,
approach has been, pretty good. Your demeanour is decent.
you know, like so. But I mean, you're not. So it's not. There's no nefarious.
No, it's not reconnaissance or there's no hostility involved or anything like that.
Okay.
Could I ask you to identify yourself, just
Yeah.
for the sake of obviously it's a requirement to do so, but I feel like you've been quite positive,
Well,
so
yeah.
I shed light on the good and the bad. Do you
Yeah,
understand?
my name.
Can you identify yourself?
Yeah, Constable Blair.
Constable Blair, and your number?
Sorry.
And your number, Mr. Blair?
It's 5455 Sierra Oscar.
5455 Sierra
Right.
Oscar. All right, Mr. Blair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Then a new officer arrives, and the difference is obvious straight away. His tone is calmer, his questions sound more genuine, and he does not jump straight into confrontation. This is what proper de-escalation looks like when an officer actually uses it. Nothing else has changed. It is the same auditor, the same location, and the same lawful filming. But the interaction feels completely different because the officer's attitude is different. What stands out here is that this officer is actually listening. He is not cutting the auditor off, talking over him, brushing him aside, or instantly treating the situation like the worst possible threat. He simply listens, and that basic level of communication is exactly what the earlier officers failed to do. When police approach members of the public as if they are automatic threats, they stop hearing what is being said. This officer understands the point because he is not viewing every lawful action through fear and suspicion. And that is what basic accountability should look like. The problem is, it feels unusual only because the standard has dropped so far. This should be normal policing, not something that feels impressive. But when other officers refuse even simple transparency and professionalism, someone who does the basics properly immediately stands out. Same situation, two completely different responses. One group tried to use terrorism powers against lawful public filming with no solid basis, while Constable Blair, 545 Sierra Oscar, handled it with calmness, identification, and professionalism. Section 43 requires reasonable suspicion connected to terrorism, and filming from public land alone does not meet that standard. The earlier refusal to identify, combined with the ego and escalation, only made the detention look weaker. Constable Blair did the opposite. He listened, gave his details, and brought the situation down instead of making it worse. Know your rights, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.